Investigators on the scene after a Morrow County deputy sheriff was shot on this Morrow County property.
It is happening on County Road 179 in Chesterville, and now we're getting a better idea of the possible motive. We do have team coverage tonight, starting with 10 TV's Maureen Kosat, who is live at the scene. Maureen?
Well, the scene is getting bigger. Federal agents are here now, and the Franklin County Sheriff's Bomb Squad has just moved everyone back, if that gives you an idea of everything that is happening here. This all started when the Morrow County Sheriff says one of his deputies came this close to discovering a major marijuana grow operation. Deputy Brandon Moore has been with the Morrow County Sheriff's Office for 8 years. He was shot 3 times today, and even wounded, he managed to return fire and shoot the suspect. This all started at about 1 o'clock. There was a neighbor dispute here on County Road 137 in Morrow County. Deputies showed up, thought they had everything under control, but then the sheriff says Deputy Moore got into his black, unmarked SUV and started driving back in the field to investigate a rumor of marijuana plants. They say that's when the man who lives in the house, Shane Roush, shot the deputy, and the deputy returned fire, shooting him at least twice. Now, when deputies went into the house, they found even more.
The officers went in just to make sure everybody was safe. Said they saw a lot of weapons in there, saw what they thought was a hand grenade, and they pulled out.
Automatic weapons?
Don't know at this time.
And that explains why the Franklin County Sheriff's Bomb Squad is here. Again, they have asked everyone, including federal agents, deputies, police officers, firefighters, media, to move back. They are at the property now. And we can tell you that when investigators started looking around, they found everything the Deputy Brandon Moore was looking for and much more. Reporting live, Maureen Kosat, 10 TV News.
Maureen, thanks. As she mentioned, police suspect drugs played a role in today's shooting of that deputy. 10 TV's Jason Frazier has been covering that aspect of the investigation, and he joins us now with the latest on that. Jason?
Kurt, good evening. Police believe that this was all over drugs. Apparently, Officer Moore was apparently very close to discovering a marijuana bust, if you want to call it that. Now, when they got a little bit closer, apparently what happened was you can still see live chopper tenders flying right over the scene. You can still see right where Officer Moore apparently was about to discover what appears to have been some sort of makeshift greenhouse. And according to police, as Deputy Moore was checking it out, that's when he was fired upon. He was about to discover the marijuana garden. Now, when police finally did arrive, deputies discovered about 500 to 600 marijuana plants. That has about $500,000 in street value. Now, right now, police are waiting on a warrant to search the property. They believe there could be additional drugs inside the house. They haven't been able to confirm that, but they do believe that there could be more drugs inside. We are also told that there are some state and some federal agents here to assist the local police here with the drug investigation. We'll, of course, have a wrap-up for you coming up on news on 10 TV News at 11. Jason Frazier, 10 TV News.
Jason, thanks a lot. Both the deputy and the suspect in this incident were flown to Grant Medical Center this afternoon in Columbus for treatment. Our Tanisha Millette is live at the hospital with the latest on their conditions. Tanisha?
Andrea Moore is still in surgery at this hour, and the hospital will not release any information about the suspect, Shane Roush. Now, both Moore and Roush were flown here to Grant Medical Center from Morrow County. Investigators say that Roush was shot at least twice, and I know from witnesses that I spoke to here at the scene that Roush was taken to the trauma unit in the emergency room. A captain with the Morrow County Sheriff's Office says that Detective Moore was shot 3 times in the torso and the leg, and that his injuries are very serious, but they are not life-threatening. However, Moore is still in what is being considered a very lengthy surgery this evening, and the family has asked us to ask you to please keep Moore in your thoughts. We are live here at Grant Medical Center. Tanisha Millette, 10 TV News.
Will do, Tanisha. Thanks a lot. And stay with us for continuing coverage of this story. We will have crews in Morrow County at the scene and, of course, in Columbus all night, bringing you the very latest on 10 TV and online at 10tv.com. Kurt? Tonight, Deputy Moore is recovering at Grant Medical Center, and we're learning more about this hero. Kevin Landers spoke with those that know him well.
I spoke with a deputy tonight who tells me that Brandon Moore is listed in serious condition. Everyone I talked to in his hometown of Mount Gilead says he was respected by all, and even though he had offers to work in other departments, he was proud to work in Morrow County.
Brandon is pretty special.
Deputy Brandon Moore was born into a law enforcement family. His sister-in-law says he joined the ranks because he respected the job. How proud was he to wear that uniform?
Very proud. His father is also on the force in Mansfield, and he really is, it's something he holds near and dear to his heart.
Moore is the department's lone special investigations officer. 10 TV has learned he was shot in the stomach, groin, and leg while checking out a tip of a suspected marijuana growing operation in this Morrow County field.
If I had a backup, that's the boy I want right there.
Hollis Estep is a 37-year veteran of the Sheriff's Department and worked with Moore before he retired. He says there's no question Moore is a hero.
After being hit like he still returned fire and was able to concentrate on what he was doing to make it count. And that's hard to do in a position like that.
As for Moore's family, his sister-in-law says it's still hard to comprehend the near-death experience of her brother-in-law. She's comforted by the fact her sister is by his side.
She's a very strong person, and you know, like I said, she will be there for him clear through, and you know, the rest of the family will help take care of the kids.
Deputy Moore has 2 sons, ages 10 and 8. He's an 8-year veteran of the Morrow County Sheriff's Department. Reporting outside Grant Medical Hospital, Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
1 month after being shot, a Central Ohio deputy is on the road to recovery. Detective Brandon Moore returned home in recent days to a hero's welcome, one that is now posted on YouTube. A procession of law enforcement and emergency vehicles rolled through a Central Ohio street, bringing an injured Morrow County deputy home for the first time in weeks. Detective Brandon Moore was shot in October while investigating a house after a dispute call. The location was home to a massive marijuana growing operation. Investigators say Shane Roush shot Detective Moore 4 times, including in the groin and foot. Despite his injuries, Moore was able to fire back, shooting Roush 2 times. When other deputies arrived, they discovered nearly 1,700 marijuana plants. They also pulled more than 100 weapons from that home. Shane Roush is facing 7 felony charges, including attempted murder on a law enforcement officer. A grand jury indicted Roush just last week. Roush's wife, Karina, is charged with drug trafficking. Now, following that shooting investigation, Moore is back home, arriving with a special message.
971, go ahead. Welcome home, sir. I've never felt more welcome in my life. Copy that.
And while Moore is back at home, he's recovering. He underwent further surgery today. And we'd like to extend our thanks to Brent Staley with Morrow County Fire Rescue for shooting the video, and to Brandon Moore, who shared it with 10 TV.
There is one person who's very thankful to be home and recovering tonight, Morrow County Detective Brandon Moore. He returned home just a couple of days ago, a month after being shot on the job after discovering a suspected drug growing operation. Today he sat down with us to talk about his recovery. 10 TV's Maureen Kosot shares his amazing survival story.
If we did it 100 times, I believe that God would have protected me every single time.
From his hospital room, Brandon Moore recalled the exact moment he knew he was in danger.
When I heard that first pop, 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 and I started feeling these kind of hot burning sensations.
In this farmer's field, Moore was ambushed and shot 4 times by a man armed with a high-powered assault rifle.
Confusion, uncertainty, doubt, panic, and there's so many thoughts swirling through your head.
Then the deputy says he remembered this promise.
No matter what happens, I'm gonna come home, and I've made that promise to my wife that so long as there's breath in my body, I'm coming home to her.
Moore returned fire and repeatedly shot the suspect, Shane Roush, at the distance of half of a football field.
With the distances that were involved, it's highly unlikely that I should have won that fight. And again, I go back to what I believe was miraculous intervention.
Last Friday, 1 month and 8 surgeries after the attack, doctors decided Deputy Moore had recovered enough to return to Mount Gilead. The detective says he didn't anticipate a hero's welcome.
I cried. Yeah, there were man tears involved.
It sounds like a happy ending, but Moore's journey to healing has only begun. In January, he will endure another surgery, a bone graft, that will ultimately determine whether doctors will have to amputate his foot. But in the spirit of Thanksgiving, Moore says there aren't words to express his feelings of gratitude.
I don't know if I could find them. I like to think I'm articulate, but it's just so wonderful to be able to hug my kids again and kiss my wife.
Moore says he believes God will heal him and reunite him with his badge and gun.
They're saying that best case scenario, I'll be walking with a limp, then I'll be a cop with a limp. So be it.
Maureen Cosat, 10 TV News.
And we certainly wish him the best. The suspect in that shooting, Shane Roush, will spend the holiday behind bars on $5 million bond. He is facing several charges, including attempted aggravated murder.
At Heartland Alliance Church, there is always time for praise. But talking about overcoming a problem is welcome too.
Would you welcome to the platform Detective Brandon Moore?
Sunday morning, the congregation heard from one of its members. He talked about his greatest test and what he called his greatest testimony.
Everything that I learned in my training in law enforcement, everything that I had learned about God and what He'll do for you, it all came to a head on October 21st.
That day, Morrow County Sheriff's Office Detective Brandon Moore says he had responded to a dispute between neighbors. When it was settled, he says one of the farmers there told him there was marijuana on the property. Moore admitted to his church family there was a lot he didn't do right at that moment. He says he didn't check his surroundings, didn't have enough ammunition, and left his police radio in the cup holder of his car.
About 2 steps after I got out of my car, you hear I heard this pop, pop, pop coming from behind me.
And Brandon's healing is not over just yet. He still has surgery on Tuesday, but his pastor says that it was important for him to speak to his church today.
He's a part of our family, and we get the opportunity to celebrate with him what God has done through him and in his life.
A family member who is regarded as a hero. But Moore says someone else is the real hero and the reason his life was spared.
God had other plans.
Tanisha Millette, 10 TV News.
Now, Moore was shot 4 times. The side of his foot was actually ripped off, and he will have to undergo several more surgeries for that injury. Meantime, the man accused of shooting Moore, Shane Roush, and his wife are both facing charges connected to that shooting.